Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And today, my guest is Mattie Graves. And Mattie is coming to us via StreamYard, which is one of the companies that we use. And so I want to give them a plug because we love StreamYard. I was always a Zoom user, as were millions of people during the pandemic. People who had never heard of Zoom all of a sudden became familiar with it, and I've been using it for quite a long time. But we switched to StreamYard, and they're one of our partners, and so we wanted to mention them, and that's how we are bringing this podcast to you. So, Mattie, welcome to the show. And what I want you to do first, if you would, is just share a little bit about yourself, your family, your pets, anything about yourself that you're willing to share with us. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Mattie. I live in Hollywood, Maryland. So I'm on the East Coast. And it's me, my mom, my dad. I have my older sister as well. My brother-in-law and two nephews. So we're a pretty tight-knit little group. And then recently actually just got a new puppy, Milo. So been having fun with him. And
what kind of dog is Milo?
He's an English bulldog.
Oh gosh, they're so nice. My my daughter has two of them. Mm-hmm. And then my grandson, he's an adult, he got one. And so but they're so rough. So I got a puppy for my birthday in December, and it's a Shih Tzu. And so he only weighs, now he's 8 months old, he only weighs probably 10 pounds. And those English bulldogs would just probably eat him alive, because they're so hefty and strong and everything. But they're such nice dogs.
Oh yeah,
so
he's a little.
Yeah, you're gonna love that dog for sure. So, Mattie, do you still go to school? Do you work? What do you do to keep yourself busy when you're not racing?
So I'm part-time. I work at a local little shop here. It's called Triton Defense. They're a government contractor. And then I help out with my dad's business. He owns Holly Rock Customs, which is the car owner that I race. And I actually recently just graduated from College of Southern Maryland with an associate's degree. So.
Okay, awesome. So is there something that you really want to do as a career, or you're happy where you are right now?
I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. I would love to make racing a full-time career, but I know that takes a lot of work and a lot of steps, but I'm with where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And you just never know what's going to happen or who you're going to meet. And so that's a good career goal to have for sure. When you were in school, did your classmates know that you raced?
Certain ones did. College of Southern Maryland, even though it's a local community college, it gets a lot of kids from all the counties around here. So a lot of them don't know, but normally in my introductions, my little fun fact about myself was always that I was a drag racer.
Okay. And what kind of reactions do you get from that, like from other students or teachers even?
A lot of the times when you say racetrack, a lot of them think of like track, like running.
Yeah.
So they automatically assume we have a dirt track around here, Potomac Speedway. So they automatically think that it's the circle track. And I have to tell them like, hey, no, I go straight on asphalt.
Yeah. And I go about 100 and however many miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing that really gets people is they're like, what? And how old are you? And you do what? And yeah, for sure. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about your racing. I mean, that's why we've got you on the show. We want to know about you and your race career. So how did you get started involved in racing?
So my dad is what got me started. He was racing long before I ever came into the world. Everything from, he had a Chevelle, he raced his dump truck, he's raced big motorcycles. You name it, he's probably raced it.
Okay.
So I grew up around the racetrack. So it was natural that I fell into it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in the blood. You can't tell me any different. Now, I didn't have anybody in my family that older than me that raced, but my son got into it. And so that's how we really got into it. We started back in when he was young, and we would go watch some of our friends race, and that gave Ben the bug. And then when he got old enough, he raced, and so now our whole family, my granddaughter's racing that. We're all into the racing. So it usually starts with the dad more times than not. But every once in a while I'll meet somebody who just went to a racetrack with their friends when they were little and came home and said, I want to drive one of those quarter midgets or something. Yeah. So did you start out in drag racing then, or did you start in some other way?
So I never got like the junior dragster experience or anything like that. I kind of just skipped over that. And as soon as I turned 16 and got my driver's license, the Highly Rock Customs, the business that my dad owns, is a diesel mechanic shop. So my very first vehicle was a Ford pickup truck, and the second I got my driver's license, I went to our local racetrack on a Friday night and took it down the quarter mile and was hooked ever since.
Mm-hmm. Were you or are you ever scared of going that fast?
No, the nerves the very first time were kind of like, I hope I do everything right, because
mm-hmm.
at the time I was in my pickup truck, which was my daily driver, so I was like, right. I can't break my truck.
Yeah, exactly.
But once I got done, I was hooked. I just wanted to keep going laps and laps.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what would you consider your hometown track?
So my hometown track is Maryland International Raceway. So a lot of people know it as Budge Creek. It's a very popular racetrack, especially for a lot of the quarter mile stuff. This is where World Cup finals or import versus domestic is held. Nitro cars used to come here a couple of years ago, but it's a very popular track for the quarter mile folk.
Okay. All right. And then do you travel too, or do you mostly just race at that track?
So I travel more and go to more racetracks away from home than I do race at home. I recently just raced at home for the first time in probably 2 years.
Okay.
So it was nice to have my hometown crowd there watch me and everything. But I travel all up and down the East Coast. I go out west as far as Indiana. I've been as far south as Florida. So.
Okay. So where do you go in Indiana?
So we race in 2 different spots. We race in Lyons, Indiana at Wagler Motorsports Park. And then I actually get to race at Lucas Oil Raceway, which is where NHRA races. So that's
nice. That's going to be a lot of fun for sure. Yeah. So I only live about an hour north of the Indiana border. We're Indiana and Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really nice drag strip in Martin, Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you ever come that way, you have to let me know, because that's only about less than 30 minutes from my house. So
yeah, so I know PDRA, which is one of the circuits I run, they're going back to US 131 this year.
Yeah, that's a great track. It really is. It's a nice facility. And so if you ever get this way, you like I said, you have to promise to let me know, because I've gone up there several different times and met girls that I've interviewed and watched them race, which has been really fun. So that's awesome. So tell me about your car, your truck. What are you racing now?
So now I have a 272-inch wheelbase Spitzer chassis dragster, and I have a twin-turbo Duramax diesel in it.
Okay. So what's the fastest you've ever gone?
I'm currently the world record holder for the quickest diesel in the 8th mile, and I recently just went 394.1 at 190 mile an hour.
190 miles an hour. When you get out of the car after you've gone that fast, are you dizzy? Are you, how do you feel when you get out of the car then?
I feel really good, because normally if the car's on a good pass, I can tell right away. But when they say your fastest passes feel like the slowest, they aren't kidding. So a lot of times I kind of just wait to see the time slip to see what I did. And half the time I'm surprised because I did better than what I thought. But one thing I've noticed the quicker that I get is tunnel vision is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
In a dragster, you're sitting directly in the middle of the track. You're not in the door car sitting on the left side. So tunnel vision is definitely a real thing. But when you're only going 1/8 of a mile, you kind of, your eyes catch up to you a little bit quicker. So
it's over before you have time to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have a certain class that you race in?
So in PDRA, I just run with Top Dragster, which is kind of a generic one. A lot of the other like little bracket classes that run at racetracks, I kind of can fit into their rule package as well because they've taken after PDRA's rule book. And then the main circuit I run in is called the Outlaw Diesel Super Series. So it's a diesel circuit. And in that circuit, I run in, they call it Pro Dragster.
Okay. All right. So that lets people kind of know where you are, how fast you go. What is your car color and number? And I know in drag racing, do they assign your number?
Depending, I picked mine.
Okay. So what's your number and what's your car look like?
So my car, it's not a generic dragster. Everybody thinks dragster, and you have the old school pinstriping with a whole bunch of colors. Mine is just one. It's called black metallic cherry. So it's a very dark maroon with lots of sparkle in it. And my car number is 128.
Okay. And how did you choose that?
So 128, I was born on January 28th. So I kind
I
of
knew
just.
that. I figured. I figured it was either December 8th or January 28th.
Yeah, so kind of just that.
That's the most popular way that girls choose their car number. Now, I don't know how boys choose theirs, probably from their sports number, in school. That's what my son did. He was always number 30. And so that's what his car number was. But girls tend to go with their birthdays for sure. Yeah.
I like to think that 8 is my lucky number, so I kind of was like, oh, this is just a way for me to play that in it too.
There you go. Awesome. So, do you have a most memorable moment so far in your career? I know, you set a record. So, what else?
I honestly, so my record, I reset it myself. I've set both of them. So probably the very first time I reset the world record, because there wasn't a whole lot of people at the racetrack. It was kind of just me, my crew, and a couple other people. So it was a very intimate moment between me and my crew, and it was very special to share it with those that were there. And yeah,
And where were you when you set the record?
I was at my home track at Maryland International Raceway, so it was very special to get to do it there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about your crew. So who helps you with your car? If you want to name them or tell me what they do, how do they help you?
So my dad is he's the car owner, crew chief, all that good stuff. My mom helps. She's just there for moral support. She does a lot of the media as well. My brother-in-law, Cody Spalding, he does a lot of the maintenance and the wrenching on the car. He knows the inside and outs of that motor completely and totally. We have our good friends, Robbie and Tammy Owen, that come, and they're just there as crew. They help with whatever we need. And my tuner, Andre Dusick, he works with S&S Diesel Motorsports, which is also one of my sponsors. He's my tuner. He is the one I give all the prop to for making me go this quick. So
yeah, for sure, because you certainly can't do it by yourself. We know that.
definitely.
And it takes all of those people, and sometimes even more than that, to get you get you on the track, get you down the track safely and fast. And a lot of people don't understand, people that come to watch any kind of racing, they don't understand what it takes to put those cars and things on the track. And so it's good to have a good solid crew behind you that you can depend on for sure. So marketing partners, you mentioned one or a couple of them. Do you have other partners that you want to share?
Yeah, so part of my deal is kind of special to me. Majority of my sponsors are actually companies and businesses from my hometown. So it's always nice to have their support everywhere I go. So S&S Diesel Motorsports is one of my biggest ones. They give me my tuner and then they supply all of my fueling. A&G Electric, Sea Breeze Restaurant, Tiki Bar, Ape Hangers. I have Hotshot Secret. They supply all of my oil and fuel treatment. I have Stainless Diesel. They supply all my turbos because I go through quite a bit of those. We have our good friend Pat. He owns Aviation Systems Technologies. He wired my car front to back for me. Nitrous Express. Oh God, I'm running out of them. Goddard transmission. Um,
Lots of them.
yeah, I should know these by now.
Well, you know what? It's hard to keep track, especially when somebody puts you on the spot. You know, when you try to remember all those people, I was impressed um, over the weekend when Ty Gibbs raced in NASCAR, and he was racing his pit crew, and he and his pit crew were racing for $100,000 in the pit crew challenge at North Wilkesboro, and you know he's young and he's gotten you know good reviews, bad reviews, whatever it might be on and off. But when he got out of the car and they said, you know, so far you're the fastest, and then when he won, he named all of those pit crew guys. There's like, what is there, six or seven, five or six, whatever it is. He knew their names. And I was impressed with that. And so were the announcers, because it's a lot to remember. It's a pressure situation, especially for him. You know, he's got a TV camera in his face. And yet he knew that he wasn't there without those people that were helping him. And
Right.
that to me said a lot about him. You know, say what you will about him. I think he's a good kid, and I think he's a good race car driver. And then that was just one more thing. So, you know, you remembered an awfully lot of them. So you should be proud of yourself for that, for sure. So every day's not a good day at the racetrack. We know that. So how do you deal with a bad day at the racetrack?
Um, I feel like there's always those little moments at every race, even though if it might turn around and end up good. Mostly depending on where I'm at. With if I'm racing at PDRA, it's a little bit easier to get my mind off of it. I just go up to the starting line, watch some other classes. I have plenty of people there that I know that I like to watch and support. If I'm at one of my diesel races, I kind of just go find one of my friends and kind of just get away from my pit for a minute and relax and try not to think about whatever's going wrong.
And then try again.
Yeah, always try again.
Always try again. That's for sure. You don't give up just because of one thing that didn't go right, because that's life, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we deal with life. Every day doesn't go right, and so we have to learn how to deal with a bad day or when things go wrong. And so racing's no different really than that, for sure. So what's your favorite part of being a race car driver?
Obviously, going fast. I love the driving aspect of it. A lot of people say dragsters are boring. You just let go of a button. But I love the driving aspect of it. I love being at the racetrack and getting to experience it. Um, when I'm at PDRA, when I'm racing, I love being able to race with all of the people that I look up to or that I'm friends
Mm-hmm.
with. I get to do what I like to do while also supporting them. And it's just especially like the diesel people that I race with, it's such like a family atmosphere. So we're
Mm-hmm.
all close knit. We're all there to help each other at any given moment. And when we get up to the starting line, we're competitors, but at the end of the racetrack, we're friends again. So it's always,
Yeah. I figured you were going to say that because I hear that a lot. And especially the fact that, yes, once we get to the starting line, or you know when the green flag drops or whatever you want to say, we're competitors, and that's why you're there to win a race. You're not there to let your best friend win just because he or she's your best friend.
right?
But you get to the end, and there's no point in being angry if you lose to somebody or whatever, because next time you might win. And
Mm-hmm.
so you know, I love that about motorsports, especially. It's much more of a sport where not only can you be competitive, but you can be best friends with those people. And there's not a lot of sports that you can say that about, for sure.
Yeah, definitely not.
So, what would you say was your biggest obstacle when you started racing? What was the hardest thing for you to learn?
um, I feel like I picked up on for somebody who was never in a dragster before. I feel like I picked up on that fairly quick. I think it was more so on the side of when I actually got into a circuit. It was more of, are they going to welcome me in? The diesel side of the world, especially still today, is very male dominant.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guys who are still stuck in their ways and believe that a woman shouldn't be,
Right.
let alone racing a diesel. So it was more so if all these guys were going to let me come and hang out with them and show them that I deserve to be there. So that was definitely one thing I had to get used to, is that they're going to have their opinions and judgments until I go out on the racetrack and show that I can do exactly what they do and sometimes even better.
And you belong there. There's no reason why women can't be on the same playing field as the men when it comes to racing. So some men have a hard time losing to a woman. I don't get it. Women don't have a hard time losing to a man.
Never.
And, it's just how it is. And so some of those old guys need to get over themselves, is what I always say. So I know that in drag racing and that, the fan experience is much more up close and personal most of the time, I would say. I mean, at smaller tracks, people can go to the pits and that, but drag racing seems to always have been a more up close personal fan experience. So do you have any special fan things that have happened, or do you have a special fan, or how do you interact with them?
So drag racing is definitely more fan friendly. We thrive off the fans. We love seeing the stands full. Um, and my favorite thing to say is what Alan Reinhardt always says is, on Sunday morning at NHRA, every ticket is a pit pass, and
Yeah.
it's legit. NHRA is friendly. You can walk up to the pit. You can see the drivers. They're not, just because they're on television, they're not stingy. They're not better than us.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the same. PDRA, the circuit I run with, our pits are wide open. If you want to come and talk, you're more than welcome
Yeah.
to. I love seeing the little kids come out.
Oh yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
are my favorite. And if they want to sit in my car, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Anybody's parent into trying to put them in a race car too.
Well, and they're so fascinated, and can you imagine as a little child, and you probably can because you've been around racing, but a smaller child, things look bigger, buildings look bigger when you're little. I can remember as a little girl, we went past this one factory building all the time, and I always thought it was so huge. And then I moved away from there as an adult, and then when I go back now, it's very small. But as a child, think about looking at that dragster. It'll look huge to them. And so sitting in it might just give them enough of a bug to get their parents interested, to let them give it a try. You just never know.
And I always like to think that if a parent brings their kid to the racetrack, they're trying to get them to catch that bug. So anything I can do to help to get them in a race car.
Absolutely, because it takes all of us to grow the sport and to keep the sport going. So, yeah, for sure, we all have to do our part and encourage the parents to bring those kids and let them sit in the car and get an autograph. And that's a big thing to a kid and to adults as well. A lot of adults, that's a big deal too. Um, so your racing career, I know we said, really that's what you'd like to do as a career. What is that going to take for you to be able to do that?
So the gas world of things, like everything that's not a diesel, is kind of, they don't really pay attention to us as much. They do with certain things, but we're kind of like in our own world. And I love the diesel. I love the diesel racing community. I love diesels as a whole. But my goal is to ultimately be able to step out of that and step into the gas world. I would love to get licensed in a top alcohol dragster. I would love to get licensed in a pro mod. But ultimately, my main goal is to end up in a top fuel dragster. So, and I've actually met with Don Schumacher, and I've had very good conversations with him and Tony Schumacher and lots of people in Top Fuel. And they kind of just all have the same thing. If you're on social media, grow your following, grow marketing, any type of sponsors you can get, any type of publicity you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then Don Schumacher himself actually said one of the best ways to do it is just get a job on a team. Doesn't matter. Just get in the team, get your foot in the door, get yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what might happen.
Right. That's really good advice because, you know, that's like being an apprentice at a job. And then you can, you know, people that own those cars, I know your dad owns your car, but when you're talking, you know, NHRA and that, they're looking for drivers that can do more than drive the car.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for drivers who can promote the brand, who can be a good ambassador for the brand, who can encourage other people to get involved, who, you know, and the other side of it is too, if you start out as a, we're going to say apprentice with the team, you know, you might start out at very low job, you know, sweeping the floors, whatever it might be. Right. But you get to know everybody and they get to know you. And then, oh, I can do that. I did that on my car before. Why don't you teach me what you're doing? Mm-hmm. And if you're there in the shop and you're hands-on with whatever your job assignment is, you can also step up and say, I'd really like to learn how to do that or that. And when they see that you're serious and you're passionate and that you really want this more than you want to, you know, be a nurse or a school teacher or whatever, those are that's the people they're looking for. Mm-hmm. The girls and guys who are passionate and who are serious about learning everything they can learn and then applying it to when they drive the car. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's great advice for him, to give you for sure. So how old are you? Did you tell me that already?
No, I'm 21.
You're 21. So at 21, you probably haven't thought about being a mentor to someone or how what you're doing might influence other young women to do what you're doing. So if you thought about that for a minute and you think, you look down, you know, the path of your life and you see that someday you're going to retire, what is something you want to have left behind in the motorsports world?
Honestly, as more females are becoming more prominent in the drag racing world, it's that don't let anybody tell you can't do it. There's always a way, there's always a will, and if you have the passion to do it, and if you have the support, which support is the biggest thing in drag racing, because without you're going to get anywhere, whether it's
right
with moral support, emotional support, or even money. Just don't let anybody tell you no.
Right.
And it's always possible. It might not happen overnight and it might not happen in 5 years, but if you keep persistent and you keep pushing, you will succeed at some point.
Right. And like they said, social media is so big for us nowadays to get those names out there. I mean, that's why we do this podcast. We want to try to help women in motorsports get their name out there and spread the word about Mattie Graves and what she's doing and where she's racing and that kind of thing. Because, you know, sometimes it's hard when you're racing, you're going to school, you're working, whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. Social media sometimes, or, you know, promoting yourself sometimes falls to the bottom, because by the time you get done with all that, you just want to sit down and see what your friends are doing. Right. Yeah. And so we have to put that farther up the list, because what we know now from social media is that branding is what it's all about.
It's everything now in motorsports. Yeah.
It's everything. And, you know, we talk about this a lot on these podcasts, and what I don't understand is why we can't get more businesses that really cater to women, to support women in motorsports. Even, you know, the top, or the racers that are at the top of NHRA or whatever, you know, they don't necessarily have women based businesses.
No.
It's still the kind of the same old, which is great. We love those companies, but why don't we see more um, you know, brands that you buy in the store, or makeup brands, or whatever it might be. It just, I just don't understand it. I have the same problem with finding sponsors and partners to help promote this show and the magazine and stuff. I don't understand what we're doing wrong that we can't get those companies interested. Probably because a lot of them are run by men. I hate to say that. And I mean, I always say we love the men, but we're all about the women, you
Yeah.
know. And so yeah, I don't know what we're doing wrong. Do you have any thoughts about that? How have you approached any companies that are kind of feminine based at all?
Not really. I mean, like the most recent one that I can even think of as like an example is I think her name is Lindsay Snyder, the owner of In and Out Burgers.
Yes, yes.
She stepped up. She sponsored races for NHRA.
Yeah.
But
NASCAR. She's going to do some stuff in NASCAR. Yeah.
I think one of the truck series drivers, I think her name is Tony
Breidinger.
Yeah, she got Victoria's Secret.
She did.
But there's no brands that are specific for women or women owned that really want to step up and support their own, I guess you could say.
Right, exactly. I love to read, and I picked up a magazine at Barnes and Noble. When you get to be my age, date night consists of dinner out, maybe a movie, and then Barnes and Noble, because my husband and I both love to go there. And I have Audible. I love to listen to books on tape. I love to listen to podcasts, but there's nothing like putting that book in my hands and reading it. And so I picked up a magazine, the 100 women-owned businesses, the top 100 women-owned businesses. And I bought that magazine, and it's laying right here on my desk in a pile of other magazines that, I'm going to reach out to some of those women. I made it my goal that I'm going to go through that book, and I'm going to do what I can to actually reach out and talk to some of those women, not their assistant and not their whatever.
Right.
I want to talk to them. And I just want to ask them, what would it take for you to sponsor a gal in motorsports where you could have your brand on a dragster that travels all over the East Coast and races in front of thousands of people? Mm-hmm. Because one thing we know is that motorsports fans are loyal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when I'm ready to, so I was just in Arizona for 3 weeks visiting my 2 daughters, and of course In and Out is there, and we don't have In and Out in Kalamazoo. And some people will be like, oh, In and Out's overrated, whatever, but you always want what you can't have.
Yep.
And so it used to be Chick-fil-A and In and Out. Well, now we have Chick-fil-A here in town. But so now it's just, it's In and Out, and it's Red Devil Pizza, and it's those restaurants that I found in Arizona that I love to go to. And so, what is it about those restaurants that make me want to keep going back? One, it's because I don't have it where I live, and I can go to Applebee's anywhere, right, in the, probably in the world. But, what would it take for me to get one of those women out of those 100 women just to be a sponsor? I don't know, but I'm going to be working on that this summer. That's one of my projects, and see what they say.
Yeah.
Because we need those women, those companies, and they're not necessarily companies that are geared towards women. They just happen to be women who lead or head Fortune 500 companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what we've got to go after, Mattie, is those companies, right?
And it's definitely, I feel like just motorsports as a whole kind of has like that, it's a man's sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if a company directed towards females or female owned, it's kind of like it has this stigma that,
Yeah.
well, that's a man's sport, so why should I put my brand in with all of those other ones?
Yeah.
I feel
But
like that kind of stigma needs to just go away because there's more women racers out there now than there ever have been.
oh, and it grows every day.
Yeah.
It grows every day. You know what's funny is, I use social media to find young women that race just like you. And I happened to see a post on Facebook about a quarter midget club that I'd never heard of. And so I followed. And then as I started following, more than half probably of the winners were girls. And so I started, this is what I do. I jot names down, and then I find them on Facebook, and I try to reach out and say, hey, would you like to be interviewed in the magazine or whatever? And it's amazing when I put a post on a Facebook page of a track, a series, anything like that, and it just says, I'm looking, for young women who'd like to be interviewed in the podcast and magazine. I got 50 some names in 2 days time just from putting that verbiage on Facebook. And that was just, that was like 3 different tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So the women are out there.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere, and there's more coming every single day.
Every single day, and they're winning.
Yes.
And they're not just driving, they're engineers and they're crew chiefs and they're all those things. And so we've got to get those women-owned businesses or women-led businesses to realize that, we're just as vital to this sport, as what women's basketball is.
Yeah.
So we got to work on that, Mattie. You got to help me work on that and get those businesses involved. So, this is kind of a rhetorical question now, but do you think that it's a good sport for girls to be involved in? So if a mom came up to you and said, Mattie, we watched your race. My little girl wants to be just like you. Is racing really a good sport for girls to get involved in? What would you tell them?
In my opinion, the earlier you can get started, the better. You get your name out there a whole lot quicker, and it stays in there a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
There's kids who run in the junior dragster classes in PDRA who have been running for 5 years already.
I know.
And everybody knows them. They are getting the publicity. They're getting the mentions and the posts and everything like that. So the earlier you can start, the better.
Yeah.
And when you start young, it's a whole lot easier to make friends when you're 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So you make those friends, you make those connections, and then you kind of just carry that throughout your whole drag racing career. And for me, I love it. I've grown to love it. I've met so many great people. I've met so many great women in the sport as well that would help me do anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be that few. It doesn't matter, men or women. They're going to give you hate. They're going to tell you can't do it, but you just got to block them out.
Yeah.
But there's room for everybody to win and succeed in this sport. So there's no reason to knock anybody off their pedestal when they're
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times the people that, a lot of times, honestly, it's men that are the haters. And a lot of times what I see, because I'm a huge social media person, is that I see it's people who've never driven a race car.
Yes.
They have no clue what it takes.
Yeah.
And so those are the keyboard warriors, as I call them, and they have no clue. So I don't even think about those people. I move on. Yeah. So, we kind of talked about how you'd like to make an impact on motorsports. You want to get more women involved, and we want to get more businesses to help these women get involved. And so that's kind of answered a couple of questions that I had ready for you. But so we talked about social media. How do you use social media? What platforms do you use, and how do you use them to promote yourself, where you're going to be, how you finished, whatever it might be?
So I use pretty much all of them. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. I used to have Twitter. I don't really use it anymore. It's not really a popular thing anymore.
It's so negative.
Yeah, it's
I
all
mean, well, social media can be negative, but Twitter can be the worst.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so Instagram is kind of like my personal. I use it for everything, racing, personal life, because I found that once they follow you for the racing, that's kind of what they want to. They want to know you, not just as a race car driver. They want to
Right.
doing what you spend your times when you're not at the racetrack. So
Yes.
Instagram is kind of personal. It's a little bit more laid back. Facebook, same thing. I have a personal one, but then I also have a racing account. I post all of the details for my website, all the details for where I'm racing, what times, how I finish. I have a guy that helps me make YouTube videos when I'm at the racetrack, so I upload the links for that and everything. TikTok is a hot new thing that gets you tons of views and followers, so that's it's kind of like another Instagram to me. It's a lot of racing, but it's also a little bit of personal.
Well, and honestly, TikTok is perfect for racing because
Yeah.
it's videos.
Mhm.
And we're such a moving sport. And so that, I mean, TikTok gets a lot of media attention, good, bad, or indifferent, but it's as long as you use social media in the right ways, it doesn't matter what the platform is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it? Is it your name? Is that how people could find you?
Yeah, so I like to keep things simple just because I tend to be forgetful for the most part. So everything it's just Mattie Graves. My Instagram and TikTok are the same. It's Mattie Graves _. My YouTube, I'm pretty sure you can just find if you type in my name. So
Yeah. So it's Mattie for
yes.
those that are listening, and you can see it written there by her picture if you're watching the video. If you're just listening to us, it's Mattie and then Graves, Graves. So follow her. Let's get her some follows, some likes, some shares. That always helps too when she goes to sponsors and they want to know, well, how many people follow you on social media? And so we want to help you grow that for sure, Mattie. Um, so is there anything I have not asked you about that I just totally didn't get to the subject? Something you would like to share that I haven't talked to you about?
I don't think so. Um,
Okay.
I'm always open to new sponsors or even just new opportunities. Um, I am trying to find time to go. I went to Frank Hawley's drag racing school to get my original NHRA license. So I'm trying to find time to go back down because I want to get my top alcohol license.
Yeah.
Um, but if anybody is looking to put a driver in a pro mod, I would love to get in one.
Okay. All right. We put that out there. You have to put things out to the universe
Yeah.
for them to come true. Do you believe in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always believe in having a positive mindset. And
Yeah.
just networking. Just
Yeah.
like even if the car's not ready or if I physically can't race, I try to go to the racetrack to see the races just because of the people. The
Right.
your face, they're gonna recognize you.
Hmm.
So I 100% believe that networking gets you further in life than anything ever will.
Yeah.
And just the people I've met from going to so many NHRA races and going to the PDRA even when I'm not racing, I've met people and they recognize me and they have connections and
Yeah.
they're willing to get me in touch with their connections and so on and
That's
so
what
forth.
it's all about. That's what it's all about. So now we're going to do something a little bit fun, I hope. I'm going to find out a little bit more about what are your favorite things. So I'm just going to ask you, and you just first thing that comes to mind, and if you can't think of something, just say pass, okay? You ready?
Yep.
What's your favorite food or restaurant?
Chick-fil-A.
Favorite racetrack food?
Honestly, mozzarella sticks.
Okay. All right. Favorite color?
Maroon.
Favorite animal?
Dog.
Favorite place to go on vacation or where you have been on vacation?
Oof. Well, most recently I went to Destin, Florida, and that was really nice. That was somewhere new. So I would say that.
Okay. Do you have a favorite candy or snack?
Uh, I eat a lot of mint Oreos. I get
Oh,
a lot of mixed reviews about that because everybody says I'm just eating mint toothpaste, but I really like them.
okay. It only matters what you like. How about a favorite racetrack?
um, mm, I really like racing at Indy. I think just
Oh,
because of you walk in and you're at Indy,
yeah,
you always think of NHRA. That's the big go. That's the race
right.
here. So
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a favorite movie, actor, or actress?
I love The Nightmare Before Christmas by.
Oh, that's a good one. How about a favorite musician or song or type of music?
I love Post Malone.
That's a good one too. Favorite sports team outside of racing?
Mm, I don't really watch sports, but I feel like everybody in drag racing goes to the same the Philly Eagles, all because of Fletcher Cox.
Okay. All right. Do you have a favorite professional race car driver?
Oh man. um. Well, I could name off so many.
Uh,
If you're talking about women, I love Brittany Force and Leah Pruitt, and pro mod Melanie Salemi. I love her.
I've met her and I interviewed her. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's real nice.
Um, I mean, if you just look at it as a whole, like Matt Hagan, or John Force, or
Yeah.
any of the other ones. One of my best friends is a pro mod driver, and he just won the World Series of pro mod. So I mean,
There you go. You got lots of favorites for
yeah.
sure.
And he's one of my best friends, and he's from Canada. So if drag racing doesn't make you connections, I don't know how. Because
Exactly. It doesn't matter where they live, that's for sure.
yeah,
Do you have a favorite holiday?
um, probably Thanksgiving.
Okay, I like that too. A favorite TV or streaming show?
I'm real big on Drive to Survive, the Formula One show right now.
Oh, that's good. I watched that. Yeah. Favorite thing to celebrate?
Any type of win at the racetrack.
hmm And the last one is, as a child, what was your favorite toy? Cars or dolls?
I had cars.
Yeah, I figured. That's
I
the typical answer. But once in a while, I get somebody that says Barbies.
I I had both, but I had more Hot Wheels and more car mats to lay out on the floor than I did anything.
Yeah. So see, that's there's kind of a pattern that I see. Girls played with cars when they were little, and now they're driving cars. So that's fun. Well, Mattie, I don't have any more questions for you. I've really enjoyed talking to you today, getting to know you. You're a pleasure to talk with and to learn about what you're doing. So, any last words that you might have to share?
No, just it's really sad to see all these racetracks closing here lately.
hmm
Circuits and industries just not running there. So the
Yeah,
really need to come out to all of these racetracks support, whether it's local or far away or just even 2 hours away. The racetracks rely on the fans to show up and come in and enjoy their races, and also the racer count. It's been the racer counts these days are through the roof. There's more race cars and drivers than there are anything
yeah,
but the fans, and it really helps us drivers to be able to look out there and see everybody supporting us. So
yeah. That's true of every type of racing. They all need the fans in the grandstands. So, encourage as well, and it takes everybody. It takes the drivers. It takes, of course, the track owner and promoter, and it takes
yeah,
those of us who just love racing. We need to invite our neighbors and get people to come, because you just never know where the next fan's going to come from. And the one thing that we know is if we get them there one time, they're going to come back. Yeah, for sure. So, well, Mattie, I've really enjoyed having this visit with you today. I appreciate your time. I want to wish you the best of luck this year, and we'll be following you on social media to keep track of where you're racing and how your season's going. And if you ever get to US 131 Motorsports Park. That's about 30 minutes from me. I'd love to come and watch you race.
Will do. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.